Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create a checkpoint system in Unreal Engine with C++. So let's show you what we'll be doing. So in this system we'll have the player run through the checkpoints. Each one of these is a checkpoint. You can only go through them in a certain order. So I'll show you again that went through it. So if I try to go through this checkpoint, it won't allow it because I haven't been through the first checkpoint. So I have to go through the first checkpoint, the second one and then the third. We'll also be able to respawn. I've got it on the E key. So respawn you back at the last checkpoint you was at. If you haven't gone through a checkpoint, it'll respawn you at the player start. Or each time I go through a checkpoint, that is our next spawn. I'm just pressing the E key for example, but obviously if you use a system with health and everything and you die, we can respawn you back at the current checkpoint. So let's jump into Unreal Engine and with C++ and make this. So I'm going to create a new project. So I'm creating this project as a third-person template using C++. I'm just going to call it CS for checkpoint system. Perfect. Let's create that. So make sure it's in C++. Perfect. Right, the project has been created. So the first thing we want to do, like we do in all videos, is create an interface. So go into C++ classes, CS, and then right-click, new class, down to Unreal Interface, and call this interaction interface. And we'll create that. Right, so I've deleted all the comments. Now let's make some U functions. So U function, blueprint callable, blueprint native event, and then I'm going to have void on start interaction. And I'm just going to pass in a CS character of type character with a capital C we want there. And we need to forward declare this. Right click, forward declare. We also want a CS player controller. Or declare that. I'm going to call this controller. It's going to be a pointer. I'm just going to call it controller. I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. It's going to be on end interact. So that's perfect. That has been created. So we've got start interact and end interact. Perfect. Now let's jump into the character. So in the character, I'm going to need a begin plane. It's going to be underneath the constructor. Just there. Let me just right click, create it dead quick. And then at the bottom, I'm just going to copy and paste these from notes like I do all the time if you've seen some of my other videos. On overlap and on end overlap. So I've got them both here, that's perfect. So this is when we overlap with, the character overlaps with, let's say, the interactable object or whatever. And when we stop overlapping with it, so on overlap, end overlap, perfect. Generate these definitions, add them in there. One last thing we need at the minute in the character, what we need is the T-object pointer to the player controller, because we won't be able to get the character's player controller. So T-object pointer, ACS, player controller, forward declare, I'm going to call this PC. I'm going to give it a U property, don't need to put anything inside the U property parameters. Now I'm going to go into the character and do the begin play. What we need first is the get capture component, and then we need to do on component begin overlap dot add unique dynamic and do this, passing in this, sorry, and then ACS on overlap, character overlap there. I'll do exactly the same but for end overlap. So on component end overlap and then on end overlap at the end here. So these will get called when you overlap and end overlap. Get this character's player controller and equal it to get controller to get the controller, and assign it to the pointer of player controller we have. So ACS player controller. I forgot to put the little corner bracket thing there. I can't remember the code right now for some reason. But yeah, that's done. And then inside on overlap, we need to do if is valid player controller and, sorry, wrong one there, and other actor get class, and then implements interface, passing in U interaction interface just there, and that'll be the static class. And then in here we need some parameters to call, so it's I interaction interface execute on start interaction, passing in the other actor, this, and player controller that we've got from this character. So basically it's checking if the other character that's been hit, does it implement the interface of U interaction interface, and then we're calling the execute on the start interaction, which will be in the actor we are overlapping with, so it'll be our checkpoint. So we can copy and paste this code, just need to change it a tiny bit, and then just here on the on start, I'm going to put on end. We don't really use on end, I'm just adding it in just in case you want to for your project, but yeah, we're only using on start. So that's perfect, that's the character all done. Next thing we need to do is create the actor. So for the checkpoint, so let's go back to Unreal Engine, right click, new C++ class, actor. Let's create the actor, I'm going to call this checkpoint. Simple name, so it's just a checkpoint. So let's create that. Right, that class has been created, I've deleted tick and I've deleted all the comments. So first thing we want to do up here is add in our interface. So public and iInteraction interface. Don't forget the comma after actor here. So we can add the on start now. On start, interaction implementation, then end, interaction implementation, that's them done. I'm going to copy in some components just because I don't want this to take all day to show you. So if you want to pause the video now, add these in, I'll explain what they are. So we've got a uScene component. We've got a uBox component, which will be our box collision. So when we collide with this, it'll do the code that we want it to do in on-start interaction implementation. And we've got the archway. I've called it archway. It was the circles you've seen at the start of the video. Best way to describe them. So yeah, I've copied and pasted in. Just pause the video and you can type them in yourself. I just don't want this video taking forever. But up next, we want a U property, and this will be edit instance only. Because it's going to be the ordering of our checkpoints. It's going to go under category, and we're going to equal it to the same as this one, be checkpoint. So they're all in the checkpoint area in the checkpoint. This will be int 32, and it's going to be called order index. I'm just going to equal this to 0. They're all going to equal 0, and we'll change it in the editor. Anyway, let's create the start interaction implementation and the end interaction implementation. So, perfect. First up, we want to go to the constructor. I'm going to copy and paste again. So, pause the video as well. So, scene component, create the default subobject, and that'll be scene component. Equal that to the root component. We also need to right click on uBox component and include definition. And box collision will be set up attachment to scene component. The same with the archway will be set up attachment to scene component. So, essentially, that is everything done in the C++ side for the moment. Let's just go and create the checkpoint. We're going to have to live code, so I'll see you in a moment. Perfect, that's all done. Let's click on checkpoint, right click, create blueprint class, and this will be BP checkpoint. So, let's create that. I've just made it in the contents folder. There's not really much in this project, so I'm just leaving it there. I can't bother creating a new folder and everything because there's not going to be that much in it. So, got the scene component there. Then we need the archway. And under static mesh, I found one that we used in the previous one I showed you at the start of the video. Type in gizmo, and this will be a full circle. And with this, if we compile now, we can change the colour. So I had it blue, but we could have it green. Really wanted it. So we could have it green like that. Let's just drag it in the world and see how big it is. From what I remember, the size was a bit off, so it's double the size. Yeah, I think we'll have to lock the axis on the scale, change that to 2. And then with the box collision, we want to mess around with this. We want to shrink it like this way. And then with these two, create it bigger like that. So a little bit up, about there. And outwards there. About that. That looks perfect. So let's create this archway. Which way is facing centre? That way. So let's just say we're going this way. I'm going to create a couple dead quick. Another one there. Curving round. So we've got the archways in, aka checkpoint, sorry. Can run through them perfectly. Let me just click. The collision works on the actual archway, that's perfect. So we've got 3 checkpoints there. They don't actually do anything at the minute, but we're just making them. So that's all perfect. We need to go back into C++ now, but we need to create a new component. So we need to create an actor component. This is going to be our checkpoint manager. So right click. Go down a little bit, just underneath actor, you've got actor components. Click next. It's going to be called checkpoint manager. We're creating checkpoint manager as an actor component as we are attaching it to the game mode, which is persistent in the world. So if the player dies, the game mode is still in the world. so it'll always keep track of our checkpoints. Perfect, let's create that class. Right, it's been created. I'm going to delete the begin play and the tick and all the comments. We don't need any of the comments, so delete them all. Delete them, delete them, delete them. There's going to be quite a bit of code in this one because it's managing the checkpoints. Right, so the first thing we're creating is a dynamic multicast delegate of 2 parameters. So you're going to type in declare underscore dynamic underscore multicast delegate of 2 params. So just there, I'm going to call this F. This is going to be the signature. F on checkpoint reached, and we're going to pass in a checkpoint to be a pointer. Call this. Then we need another comma for checkpoint. So that's how we do it in dynamic delegates. So that's one parameter we're passing in. I need another comma. Is it int 32, and this is going to be index we're passing in, and that is our dynamic delegate. So in public, we're going to have this near the bottom. We need to be able to have the dynamic delegate in the class we've got here. It's because it's declared outside, as you can tell here. This is the class. It's declared outside, so we're going to need to get it. And I've just typed in F on checkpoint reached, and it'll be on checkpoint reached just there. It auto did it for me. Anyway, let's create some functions. So the first one is going to be a U function. This is going to take in blueprint callable and category checkpoint manager. Perfect. And this will be a void, and what we want to do is register the checkpoint. Register checkpoint. I'm going to pass in pointing to a checkpoint. Left a big space at the start there for some reason. It's going to be a pointer, as I said, and call this checkpoint. And that's the first function done. Copy and paste. The next one's going to be advanced checkpoint. Passing exactly the same, but this is going to be yeah, a checkpoint. I haven't forward declared, so we need to forward declare a checkpoint, which, as you can see, it's been done here above. Perfect. And we're going to do some getters, so it's going to be a U function again, of all capitals in U function, sorry about that. And this is going to be blueprint pure and category checkpoint manager, and this is going to be int 32 get current index, and it's going to be type const, and it's going to get the brackets around it, and we're going to return current index. We haven't created current index in here just yet, so it's going to look a bit weird. So I'm going to create that now dead quick. This is going to be in a private area. So just there, it's a U property, dead quick, int 32, current index, and that works perfectly there. While we're in private, we do need to make another variable because we're doing a getter for the next T array. So U property, and this one's going to be no parameters inside the U property. It's going to be a T array of T object pointers, and this will be a checkpoint, and we'll call this checkpoint. It's done it for us there perfectly. So as you can guess, I'm just going to duplicate this bit here, the U function, and I'm going to get the T array now. No, we're not going to get the amount of elements in the array, sorry. So it's int 32 get total. This will be const brackets again, and this is going to return checkpoints dot num. There we go, so that's perfect. So we're getting the amount of checkpoints in the array, because when you register the checkpoint, it's going to be added to an array. Perfect. Last function is a U function of blueprint pure and category checkpoint manager. There's going to be a bool. This is going to be is complete. I'll type const. What we'll do here is just create these functions. Sorry if I'm going a bit faster today. I'm trying to make my videos faster to convey more information to you faster, because sometimes I do take very long on some videos that I feel like should be a lot shorter. Anyway, let's do it as complete first because it's complaining. So we'll return checkpoints dot norm is more than 0. So basically, when you're doing this, if checkpoints dot norm is more than 0 and checkpoints and current index, sorry, and current index is more than or equal to checkpoints.num. It's done it there for us. So that means it's complete. It'll return true if checkpoint num is more than 0. So if I've got more than one checkpoint in there and the current index is the same as the maximum. So that means we've hit all 5 checkpoints. So I've added 5 in and all 5 have been hit. Right, let's go on to the fun part on register checkpoint. So first up, we need a if is valid, and this will be checkpoint. Then we need a do an and, not checkpoints dot contains checkpoint. We just need to include definition for checkpoint there. So we're just checking it doesn't contain that checkpoint that we're passing in. So we can't pass in the same checkpoint more than once. That's what this code here does. So we're checking that it doesn't contain checkpoint passed in. So first, we need to do checkpoints. So add the checkpoint if it hasn't already been added in. Next, we need to do a lambda function to sort these out. So we've got an order index. So we need to do checkpoints dot sort, and then we need curly bracket there and square brackets. We don't need to put anything in the square brackets. We don't need anything from outside. And inside this bracket here, we need a const t object pointer, and this is going to be of type a checkpoint. Just a reference to, we'll call it A. I'm going to do exactly the same again, but it'll be B. So we're checking between these both. Get rid of the last comma. And then inside here, we're going to return A order index. Just realised something. Go back to checkpoint. We do need the order index in public. That should be fine, yeah. So we have it there. And then back in manager, we'll be able to get order index is less than B order index. And essentially that'll go through and sort it out. So it's numerical going. So 0 come first, then 1, then 2, then 3. So this is our sort function to sort out the checkpoints. So we can only go through them one at a time in order. Perfect. If you want me to do a video on lambda functions, some people can find them very confusing, but I don't mind doing one in the future. I don't use them very often, but sometimes I do, and it can be very helpful. But I can definitely do that in the future. Anyway, next function we're doing is advanced checkpoints. So we're going to do if is complete. So this will give us a bool value. Then we need to do or is not valid. Current, sorry, what have we called it? It's checkpoint there, isn't it? Sorry, in my notes I had it as a different name. Because obviously I got some notes just to help me just in case I get stuck. And this will be checkpoint. No, not contained. Checkpoint not equal to checkpoints. Why does it keep doing that? And then this will be current index. If it hits any of them, we need to return. That's perfect. Else current index plus, and then on checkpoint reached dot broadcast. So we're broadcasting to anyone wants to hear. So we'll be doing this through our player HUD. Our player HUD will be listening, and we'll update our checkpoint count at the top right, as you've seen at the start of the video when I showed the example. So we're passing in checkpoint, sorry, and then the current index, and that is advanced checkpoint all done. Tried to make it as simple as possible. But yeah, if you struggle with any code, just leave me a comment and I'll try my best to help you in the comments, or we can have a chat over message or whatever. But yeah, that is the checkpoint manager all done. We just need to go into the game mode. So the game mode we have is the CS game mode here. We need to create a U property in here. This will have no values in it, and this is our checkpoint manager we just created. So t object pointer U, is it U I think? Yeah, checkpoint manager. Forward declare this, and we're going to call this checkpoint manager. Perfect. That's that just there. In CPP constructor, we need to do checkpoint manager equals create default subobject. And this will be U checkpoint manager, and this will be checkpoint manager just there. So it's included at the top as well for us, and I've just created the checkpoint manager here. That's all we need to do. So, right, so create that in the game mode. Just going to live code. Not really doing anything here, but I do want to create the player HUD now to display what checkpoint we've hit. So, just live coded there. Back in C++ classes, CS. Right click, new C++ class, all classes. In here, you want to type in user widget. And the user widget there. I'm just going to call this player HUD. Not double A. There we go. Create that class. Right, the player HUD has been created. Let's create a protected section. Here we want the native construct. We want a function for U function there. I'm going to call it void on checkpoint reached. We have the same parameters of what we're going to be broadcasting. So it's going to be a checkpoint pointer. Let's go forward declared up top. So it's a class of a checkpoint. And it's going to be called checkpoint. We also need the int32 order index. So index, we're going to call it. That's perfect. We need two private variables. First one's going to be a U property of t object pointer. And it's going to be U checkpoint manager, because we want to get a U checkpoint manager. Forward declare that. I'm going to call this CM for checkpoint manager. Perfect. And then we're going to create a U property, and it's going to be edit anywhere, and then we're going to have meta equals bind widget. So binding it with the widget in Unreal Engine. Perfect. This is going to be a T object pointer of type U text block. We'll declare that, and it's going to be called checkpoint text. Perfect. Let's create the functions here. So right click on them, generate definitions. They've been added. So in construct, we need to call the broadcast that we're doing. So if a checkpoint, if ACS game mode, I need to include that game mode pointer called GM. It's included it. I'm going to do equals get world, get authorized game mode. So or game mode ACS game mode. Perfect there. I think we need to, what we're missing here. A authorized game mode. I did it the wrong way around there. I had the circular brackets there. I need them on this side, and then inside of here we need CM, which is our checkpoint manager, equals GM game mode bind component by class. And we have U checkpoint manager in here because it is on the game mode because we attached it. So that's perfect. And then if is valid CM for checkpoint manager. I have some code in here, and what we're going to do, CM not registered component on checkpoint reached dot add dynamic be this U play HUD on checkpoint reached just there, and then we'll have the checkpoint text. What we're going to call here is set text f text from string f string print f, and then the text will be 0 / %d, and we need a comma here, and this is going to be CM get total. So that'll be the total amount of checkpoints there are in the game, so it'll be there, and we'll start off at 0. So that's perfect. Inside of here, essentially got the same code, so I'm just going to copy and paste, but we're going to have %d here because we have index here, and then a comma, %d there for index and get total, and that'll update every time we hit a checkpoint. So now let's go into the player and sort out the player. So in the player, we need a U property, T object pointer, and this will be U player HUD forward declare, and this will be called player HUD. Then we need another U property. This is going to be edit anywhere, blueprint read write, blueprint read only. It's going to be a T subclass of. It's auto corrected. I need U player HUD there. It's going to be called player HUD class. Perfect. Now inside of begin play, under here we need if is valid player HUD class and is valid player controller. We need to include definition here for player HUD. Perfect. And what we're going to do here is add the player HUD and equal to create widget, passing in U player HUD, and here we're passing in the player controller and the player HUD class. That's perfect. And then player HUD add to viewport. Easy. What I have noticed is we've done no code in the checkpoint, so we need to sort that out now. Right, in the checkpoint we need to do two U properties. I'll duplicate that one, and the first one's going to be a T object pointer of type U checkpoint manager. Forward declare that, and this will be called CM. And underneath in the other one we need a T object pointer. This is going to be type ACS game mode, and forward declare that, and we call that GM. Perfect. And now jumping in the CPP, I'm going to type in here GM equals get world, get authorized game mode. I'm going to check the ACS game mode just there. And now we're going to check if that's valid. If it is valid, GM inside the brackets. We also need to include the definition for that. I'm going to do CM equals GM, exactly like we did in the player HUD. Bind component by class. I'm going to pass in U checkpoint manager, and that's correct. In the next one we need to do another if is valid. I do apologize about this, and we check if both are valid this time. Is valid GM. I know this looks a bit crap, I agree, but I just need to register this checkpoint, passing in this. That's perfect. So we've registered this checkpoint on begin play, And now I'm going to copy and paste this bit and just put that on the start interaction, but we're changing it to advanced checkpoint. There we go. And that is the checkpoint all done. That looks perfect. So I've registered it to checkpoint manager, and when we've hit it with advanced, and I'll call current index +1, then that'll call the broadcast and it'll update the player HUD. So we've added the player HUD as well. So let's go into Unreal Engine, live code. Live coding was complete. Let's create the player HUD. Right click, create blueprint class. This will be WBP_ for widget blueprint. Put in the contents there as well. So what we need dead quick, it's just a standard widget player HUD. So got the canvas panel there. We also need some text, drag that on as well. Let's anchor that to the top right. And 0.5 it there. Drag it down a bit, drag it across. Let's just put 0.5, so see what it looks like. We need to center it up there on the justification. Font, go to outline settings and change that to about 2. There's a big gap there, made it look stupid. Let's just say have it like that, but we won't, we'll have it closer. There we go. We can add the letter spacing. Maybe change the font to font size to 1. That looks okay. Not the font size, sorry. The outline size we changed then. Change it to about 36. Make it a bit bigger. That looks pretty good. Just need to change the name of that to checkpoint text. Perfect. Let's compile and save. That's that done. We do need to go in the character now. Third person character. And then scroll down. You'll see a section. I think it's usually about just after halfway. But just there. Be player HUD class. I didn't know WBP player HUD. Oh, I haven't changed the numbers on them. So, 1. That one will be 2. Perfect. Everything should be perfect now. It should all load on screen. And when we go through each one, it should register each one. Perfect. So that's the checkpoint system done, showing the UI. But what we want to do now, we want to spawn. So to spawn the player at each checkpoint, we're going to have to jump back into C++, go into checkpoint manager. We need to add another function. I'm just going to steal some of this code here. Copy. Paste. Put the blueprint pure one. And we're going to have a checkpoint. We need to get last checkpoint. Get the last checkpoint the player was at. This is const, create that class. Generate definition. And inside here, I'm going to do if current index is equal to 0, return null pointer, else, basically else here, return checkpoints current index -1. That's perfect. So now that'll get the last checkpoint where we're at. I need to capitalize that L, that will annoy me. I'll do them both. There we go. So now in the character, I'm just going to create a quick key binding to when you press a key action, it'll kill the player. So I'm just going to do E. So I'm going to copy this up here in the character, paste it. I'm going to make it a T-object pointer, not just a standard raw pointer. And it's going to be called def action. Essentially what it does is kills us. Perfect. We also need, I'm going to put a U function at the bottom to make a function. U function, don't need none of this. This is going to be on def. Void on def. So you can call this if the player has no health left or anything, but I'm just doing it through the keybind just to show this all works. So up the top, dead quick, we're going to duplicate this, the enhanced input for looking, change your look action to def action. When it's triggered, yes, the object is this, and then character will be on def, call that function just there. So it's just there for you. And then on def, we need quite a bit of code. So if a checkpoint, ACS game mode pointer called GM, and we're going to equal that to, we're going to use a code of that before actually. Where's it gone? We had it in player HUD. We're essentially going to use this. So copy that. So let's see if it works like this. Paste. So we've got the game mode. Get the game mode authorization, and the next if will be if. I'm going to put U checkpoint manager CM So also be a pointer just there. We've got checkpoint manager CM, find component by class like we did in the previous one. Then inside of here we need a checkpoint pointer to put last checkpoint equals CM get last checkpoint. Perfect. And if it is valid, last checkpoint is valid. You can do some code. One sec. Let me just right click. Include definition for a checkpoint, and then we're going to get F transform, and this will be spawn transform, and equal that to last checkpoint get actor transform, and then set actor transform. This will be spawn transform. Perfect. We need to do a quick else. If we happen to hit a checkpoint, we want to spawn it at the player start. So else if a actor pointer player start equals GM. We need to find the player start. The game mode will find the player start. Passing in the player controller we have. We need to get the controller. In here, we just set the actor transform again, and this will be player start get actor transform. That's perfect. That's all the code done. I'm happy. So let's live code. Live coding is complete. I just need to create the action. So input content, input actions, right click, input action, IA underscore def, I'm gonna call it. Back to input, back to IMC default, which is your context mapping. Add a new one in. This will be def. And then click E on there. That's perfect. So when we click E, it'll kill us. Just need to go back to the character in content, third person, blueprint, character. And then all the way at the bottom, we'll have an input action to put in. That'll be def. Compile, save, third person. Back to here, let's play. So if I press E now, die, it takes me back to the player start. If I hit a checkpoint, it takes me back to that checkpoint. Keep pressing E, it'll spawn me back here. Spawn me back here again, each one. Well, let's say I go for a checkpoint I shouldn't. It shouldn't update, and it should spawn me back at start. So yeah, that's perfect. So that was the checkpoint system. If you did like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment if you'd like me to do any extra on this video, because I can always add a part 2 or a bit extra, whatever you need. But yeah, thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Goodbye.